no one's still held accountable, despite American deaths. What did you think of Milley's testimony today?
Well, you know, I expected him to basically say that it wasn't his fault and he was just following orders and all that, and that's pretty much what he did. A lot of the stuff he said was right, but it's what he didn't say which really stood out to me. He didn't say that President Trump had put the United States on a course to withdraw from Afghanistan by the March 31st of 2021 in February 2020. That should have put the Pentagon on a course to have a resourced, planned, and rehearsed operation, how to get everybody out by the designated time. But as we found out, because he has said here, he actually didn't want to leave at all. So clearly he drug his feet, did not prepare and plan, hoping that the next administration would change their mind. And then when they didn't, now then they're caught short and they don't have much time to respond. I think that's one of the most egregious failures of the entire chain of command.
Mr. Bellavia, your response to what you heard today, again, no one was fired. We still haven't heard from the COs on the ground. And really, the names weren't really used at all today. Nobody wants to take responsibility, and certainly Biden's not going to hold anyone accountable.
I just can't get over the fact that the beta males in the State Department are dictating to generals, four-star generals, Navy SEALs, Delta Force commanders how to fight. Stop it. You're telling me that you found out 5 days after 6 drones followed a guy around that you were telling us was the next Zarqawi of ISIS-K, only to find out he's the Poland Springs water delivery guy of Kabul? You saw secondary explosions. This whole thing is nonsense. It doesn't make any sense. And you know what? We're talking about not repeating the mistakes of Afghanistan. Laura, we're in Haiti right now, and no one knows how many Americans are there, how many Americans to get out. We are not learning lessons like we learned in Nigeria or Niger or Belarus or any of the other 9 embassies that we've unloaded under President Biden. These aren't lessons learned. The State Department is running the show. Tony Blinken has more testosterone than General Milley. I don't understand what the hell is going on here.
Well, Mark Milley did talk about the chain of command today. Watch this.
One thing that you may take a look at is the law on lead federal agencies with respect to non-combatant evacuation operations. Who has decision authority? Right now, the law is Ambassador and Secretary of State. Command and control and the decision authority and who is in charge matters. And when you make these calls matter. So I think that's something, I believe it's codified in law, actually, about the Department of State. I'm not positive about that, but I think it is.
Lieutenant Colonel, so the State Department, we hear, made this call. But obviously, we don't elect generals. We elect a president. So he's the commander-in-chief. And presumably, he was in the Situation Room on top of all these details, right? I mean, who is in charge here?
Well, that's really the one of the big problems is that there was a lot of guys that kind of wanted to do something but didn't want to take responsibility. So then you have this disaster here. And I give just a little bit of I guess, leeway in that the original plan was for the withdrawal of the military forces, and they thought that they were going to have the government there and that they would have a military there so they wouldn't be taking all the civilians out. That didn't come until very late. But they only get a little bit of credit for that because Milley said in September of 2021 that he was shocked that this had happened. You touched on that in your opening there, that he should have known.
How was he shocked? And there was
plenty of people that told him this is going to come across.
I mean,
the fact that he didn't know is even more problematic.
Yeah, David, on that point, we had forces that our men trained in Afghanistan who then turned guns on our troops. Remember covering all of those horrific cases where our troops were murdered by the people they trained. We knew or should have known these people, they had no loyalty to anything except getting a check, most of them, not all of them. But, I mean, to act like you're surprised by this, I'm sorry, with all due respect to General Milley, I wasn't buying that at all.
There was a whole lot today that required suspension of disbelief. And in real time, by the way, Pakistan is now doing air raids on Afghanistan. No one seemed to want to mention the elephant in the room. is that the regions, it's not just the Biden administration is screwing up the world, it's that these are real consequences. It's recruiting retention, it's affecting our recruiting and our retention, and of course you have Gold Star families that are affected forever. Listen, this was a campaign ad for 2024. That's what today was. It's time for adults to take the world over again and adults to return back into the room.